Happened in the 90s.
The Game Boy Play It Loud series. What color is yours?
Yeah, Steve. So again, apologies for everybody listening. I committed a cardinal sin in podcasting yesterday and actually lost the episode we recorded. So this is take 2 of the episode 58. But in that we lost some stuff. I did talk about watching Black Sheep. Shout out to Chris Farley and shout out to an amazing movie. If you want to watch Black Sheep, it's on YouTube for free. But yesterday was the Super Bowl. Bengals, Rams. I got my wish and the Bengals lost. But as some 90s kids, Steve, I think we both got our wish and saw one of the most 90s hip hop. I mean, it was a 90s hip hop halftime show. And for me, if young Matt, 18-year-old Matt, or whatever 90s Matt could have seen that shit, he would have busted all over in his pants because that shit was fire as fuck.
Yeah, you wouldn't have known who Kendrick Lamar is. I think he would have been he would have been like 5 or something.
Yeah,
like, oh,
that was cool.
Toddler?
I thought that was just kind of cool though, because he's sort of the child of all like the West Coast rappers that they featured, like Dre and Snoop and stuff. But 50 Cent was looking a little he was looking a little thick. I know you don't like to hear a guy called that, but I didn't get the
kind of weird
down thing immediately, and I was like, what the fuck are they doing to this guy?
It looked like he was suffocating, man. And despite his size, I think it would be hard for anyone to sing upside down. But they had the proper way to start it off with Dre and Snoop. And what I was disappointed about, I was more disappointed about than the Bengals losing was the Tupac not being there. There were rumors that there was going to be a hologram, and it didn't happen. But they played a little snippet of a song.
I thought when California Love came on, I was like, holy fucking shit. Steve was right. But it's a hologram. It was cool for me though to see.
They did do have a hologram?
No, I just was
I was about to say,
I was expecting to see it, but when first a couple things I thought were hilarious. They had Dre on some kind of fake board the whole time. I was like, why do they have him doing this? He's like mixing on stage and shit. I thought that was kind of funny. But you would see moments where him and Snoop, especially like right when they started, they were like smiling at each other, and the whole thing was very LA. Like the floor of it was a map of the LA streets. The shit was set up to look sort of like an LA block party and stuff. And you could see them like looking at each other, and Dre was smiling, and they would like kind of smile back and forth. And I was just thinking how crazy that must be that, what they came from, we saw their whole evolution from beginning to finish, really. And for them to go from the beginning to that, where they're basically in a stadium in a part of town that they built up through their success, and to be like in front of that in a worldwide stage and stuff, you could tell that they were like drinking it in a little bit. And as a fan of Snoop especially, I was like, man, what a fucking cool, like, it's not even a reward, just like acknowledgement. Like you made it, like you've made it to the ultimate echelon of music and of pop culture and stuff. And that was definitely cool to see.
And I want to mention this again about what grinded my gears over the week, this fucking 90s nostalgia group that we're in. And I made a post, which I'm going to show on our show. It's very 90s related. So 90s nostalgia, I wanted to make this post and share it because it was relevant. It's got Chris Mullen, Surfer Sting, Guile, Big Boss Man, Detlef Shrimp, and Coach Buzzgut from Beavis and Butthead. It's 90s as fuck. And the theme is crew cuts. And at the bottom, you can't see it, but it says happened in the 90s because they totally fucking did. It was a thing. And they did not approve my fucking Facebook post. It's one of those groups where you have to be approved by the committee and shit. So that pissed me off. I posted it like in Monday or Tuesday of last week. Didn't approve that, but they approved this motherfucker named Marcus, and I'm not going to say his full government name, fucking stone face, booty chin, pretty Picasso motherfucker. So he made a post, and this fucking son of a bitch said, I'm thinking about starting a 90s podcast, looking for a co-host. Oh, really? That already hasn't been done. So they accepted that shit, right? And then another motherfucker posts a Napoleon Dynamite meme. Napoleon Dynamite is not even fucking 90s.
You lose. Good day, sir.
So y'all just all over the place. 90s nostalgia, gatekeeping, cocksucking motherfuckers.
Open your history books up, you fucks. And also, like, if I was the owner of, or like the administrator, whatever they call these people that are like the managers of these pages, if somebody sent me that, what is behind you, I'd be like, this guy's immediately moved up to another administrator of this page, because clearly he gets it.
He gets it.
He understands what's going on here. He even has podcasts about it. But no,
already
they disrespected Mullen. They disrespected the Shrimp. I mean, all of those vintage crew cuts you see there. I mean, these people are on the Mount Rushmore of 90s for everything: video games, wrestling, fucking basketball, and cartoon TV shows. And you're gonna sit here and disrespect my boy Steve G like that? I mean, fuck you guys.
I'm pissed now.
Fuck 90s nostalgia. We're 90s nostalgia. We're taking it over now. It's ours.
Like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Exactly, dude. We're NWOing the fuck out of 90s nostalgia, Steve. However we do that. Yeah. It's just complete and utter disrespect. And for all of those disgusting crew cuts you see behind you, I had those as well, maybe because of Chris Mullen and Big Boss Man and Detlef Shrimp and Sting. I just got to say, suck it, 90s nostalgia. And especially the guy that made the Napoleon Dynamite post, like, you can suck my dick all the way up. Okay.
I see a lot of stupid posts in that group that they just green light. But I'm still staying in it. And if you see a mad face, the angry reaction, that's me. And I got my pedicab on because of all of that shit. My tiny ass wee pedicab. Because
leave it
y'all
on,
some hoes.
Steve. It's a sign of disrespect to that page, and we leave it on just in protest, if nothing else.
They some hoes, dog. They some hoes.
Looking for a certain color?
Oh, I love them all. The way the milk chocolate melts in my mouth.
Not in your lovely hand.
Well, I am a bit partial to red.
The color of passion. I thought that was green. Nah, that's just a myth. A what? Myth.
Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about things that happened in the 90s. So get out your damn Megazords and your stupid ass off dolls, because it's happened in the 90s. Happened in the 90s. Happened in the 90s is happening in the fucking 90s. Fuck y'all.
Steve, I mean, it's a good one. We got some hits. We got the classic Power Rangers. We got fucking little Stacy Keenan action for you. So your coworker, your internet love interest, whatever you want to call her. Yeah. So we hit a lot of nerves.
Yeah.
Wink.
And first of all, happy birthday, Michael Jordan. The GOAT. The agreed upon GOAT. Happy birthday. What do you get Michael Jordan for his birthday, Steve? What do you give a man who has everything?
He's doing something great and probably being an ass about it too. But hey, you deserve it. I love it.
He has more right than the ugly ass Queen of England.
Well, it's like I've heard somebody talking about this. They're talking about the documentary and how whoever was kind of examining it was saying how funny it was that Jordan was so untouchable that he had to make up shit to have a beef with somebody because nobody's gonna beat him. So he'll just make up a beef in his head and be like, that's true. Fuck you. And that's how he had to live his whole life and like motivate himself. And clearly it worked in every possible way. So
I admire his pettiness. You know what? I'm going to give him a virtual little ass petty cap. Here you go. Here you go. He's in the air. So I have to
jump, man.
Sometimes I dream that he is me.
Oh man, Steve. I mean, it's true though. Like, man he's a legend. Happy birthday. I'm sure he's doing something great. I wish I could be there. Maybe not though, because he might shit all over me, you know. But hey.
It takes eons of generations to get there.
Oh man.
We're gonna be talking about all things February 17th in the 90s. 1990. SNL is airing season 15, musical guest Aerosmith with special host Tom Hanks. The thing that stood out was the Wayne's World sketch. Tom Hanks plays a roadie, and ugly ass Steven Tyler and the rest of Aerosmith, they get to perform the Wayne's World theme song.
Those big DSLs of Steven Tyler's. I mean, it must suck to be his daughter, and he has better DSLs than you do. You know, Liv's like sitting there with the little white people lips that you can't even see the upper one. Yet Steven's like got some sort of fucking like black hole mouth from Black Hole Sun. Do you think that made him a better singer or just, you know, freakish in appearance?
It definitely made him stand out of the crowd. I think Ray Charles could pick him out in a lineup, but I mean,
man.
Don't
what do
ever
you think Aerosmith? Can I ask, like, were you ever big into him? Because to me, it was always just
never.
Like the 90s shit, like the
Beavis and
movie
Butthead.
about that, and what was that fucking movie? The one that they did the fucking theme song for. God damn it. The asteroid movie.
Armageddon.
Yeah. I mean,
they got like some tracks.
You know,
they got some tracks. I'm not gonna shit on them like I do.
Crazy though, that video with his daughter and Alicia Silverstone that every 90s dude busted Crazy. To, you know.
Yeah, Living on the Edge. I remember that on Beavis and Butthead. But yeah, they got a couple, and then Dream On. That's not 90s, but that's to me probably their favorite song.
I mean, Walk This Way. It was just like before our time a little bit, you know, like we heard it a lot because it was on the radio on Buzz 106.5 and shit, but it wasn't something I was buying CDs for. That's more like my sister's era. People are like a decade older than we are, you know.
I give props where it's due, man, because they did break ground with that collaboration with Run DMC, and this was in the early 80s when, you know, hip hop was in its infant stages, man. So they are from Boston though, so I don't know. Yeah.
Boo.
the Mississippi of the North.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know, but shout out Steven Tyler, shout out fucking Wayne's World. I mean, I just actually watched Wayne's World over the weekend because it played. It was just on. It's another movie on YouTube for free. So my wife hadn't seen it. We watched a little bit of it. Forgot about how good that shit was, and the skits. It was one of my favorites of this time period too. I love seeing this shit.
Sure, I mean, two legends, man. You know, you got Dana and Mike.
Dana's got to be top 5 best SNL cast. He's upper echelon, even like of the Sandlers and the Farleys. Like his prolificness in SNL and all the characters he's played, he has to be one of the top 5. Period.
If I had a dream cast like all time, he's definitely on there. He was one of those utility guys that is, you know, because of his impressions, you could use him a lot, especially the relevant figures that he impersonated. You know,
oh yeah,
his Bush And that was about to be a horrible. I was about to say his Bush is impeccable.
Amazing.
But no, his George Bush impersonation is it's impeccable, man.
His Perot.
Yeah, his Perot. So that keeps you employed.
I mean, I heard his Johnny actually. Johnny didn't really like it too much, so it may have taken him away from the ability to be on Johnny Carson, even though that was something he wanted as a comedian. I think every comedian wanted of that era.
I didn't know that.
That's wild, man. I think people.
That's some weird and wild stuff.
Exactly. But yeah, dude, my like all-time cast, like all-star cast that I would do, Dream Team. I think it's kind of crazy that most of them would be from like the Phil Hartman, Adam Sandler era, Chris Farley, Carvey. I would put Will Ferrell in there just because
Will Ferrell,
he was in there.
I would have Eddie. I would have Tracy.
I'd put Keenan in there honestly because he of the newer cast. Like if you take somebody from the newest shit, he's up there, dude. A couple of those
because he's the Iron Man. He's got the record right now, and Chris Parnell, he gets slept on. And Bill Hader's.
Oh,
fucks with some Bill Hader's. He's like the modern, the newer version of Dana Carvey, man.
Hell yeah.
But speaking of characters, in 1991, February 17th, Ed Sheeran was born. English singer, songwriter, guitarist, and producer. And he just never grew out of his looks.
I mean, he's Hall of... Is that a demon leprechaun? Is that the leprechaun from Leprechaun, the horror movie? Or what?
How do you come out of the womb needing eye prescriptions?
Ma'am, this appears to be one of Santa's elves. So, like, what the fuck?
He had spectacles attached to his face as he was born.
He looks like the baby from The Incredibles, and now he looks just... but the fact of the matter is, as far from an ugly man to another ugly man, Ed Sheeran, thanks for just dicking down the hottest of women and being one of the ugliest men of all time. I just pure respect in that regard. Yeah, dude. I think I fucked the leprechaun from those 90s horror movies last night, but somebody said it was Ed Sheeran's.
Ed Sheeran in the hood.
A friend with weed is a friend indeed.
Ed Sheeran in outer space. But February 17, 1994, Power Rangers is airing the episode Plague of the Mantis. Trini struggles to learn praying mantis style kung fu to defeat Rita's latest monster. This shit is so laughable. Pussy ass mantis.
Yeah, I mean, the praying mantis, to make it a large monster, I don't know. But this episode gives us, it's the classic Ranger lineup. We get Trini, rest in peace to the actress. She died. This is a Trini specific episode. And as a Rangers fan, I think I would have shied away from this because Trini wasn't in my top. She's bottom of the list for me as far as the Rangers go. So
the original Rangers?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Even Billy was I mean, Billy, whatever, dude. But Billy, at least like they made him look like a twat, so you felt like a little respect for the guy when he at least like threw a punch. But Trini, whatever. She's killing it. She's a martial artist just like everybody else. And this episode opens in Ernie's Juice Bar, the only place to hang out in Angel Grove, apparently, for children. And Trini's doing some training with her sensei. She's training in Mantis style, thank God, because that's going to come into play later.
And as she's having her little kung fu sesh, her sensei asks, what are the most honorable traditions of kung fu? And she says, always honor the fair fight and always face your opponent with equal numbers. Having a Fu Manchu wouldn't hurt either, Trini. But she's being taught the praying mantis style. And the sensei, instead of doing weeks of training in the dojo or at the juice bar, he gives her a fucking praying mantis, and he's just like, "Oh, study that.
Watch it. Here's a hermit crab cage with a bug I found outside." That's how. That makes me think that this guy don't know shit about martial arts, Steve, because there's no training. I mean, I can do this. I've watched enough I've watched enough any like montage movie of the 90s where they're training like a Karate Kid to do some of this. I forget what that's called. It's like a martial arts without any striking. I forget what the shit's called, but this guy's not, I don't think this guy has a credential. He has a bug in a cage and a good outfit. And he's Asian.
Yeah, your mustache ain't dangling long enough, man. I don't know if you got the credentials. You ain't got a full like the real senseis be having the shit like from the Shaw Brothers movies, man. I've been paying you this whole time. I've been paying you $20 an hour to train for some kung fu, and you can give me a bug. Can I get a refund?
This motherfucker's a white belt that just is hanging out at the juice bar trying to make some money, and I got to give him credit because, say what you will about his methods, but at least the guy knows how to put a little decoration on the cage, because what he's done is create a little martial arts Asian style aesthetic on the outside of this hermit crab cage that he bought at Myrtle Beach. Glue a couple of toothpicks on the outside, write a couple of Asian characters, and you got yourself a training cage or whatever the fuck. So he's at least good at arts and crafts. So
and Bulk and Skull, they're on the sidelines hating as usual. And it's just like they want to get a part of the mix. And you said that some kind of smoothie fell on them or juice fell on them.
Well, they're training, right? So or they're not even training at this point. They're watching the training happening or lack thereof, and they see the grift just like we do. They're like, this guy's giving this chick a bug to train with. We can do the same thing. Let's go find a bug. We'll create our own martial art style. And we're going to make, $20 an hour, whatever this fucking fraud's charging Trini. Maybe we can grift some of these kids. And in the excitement of, we're about to make some money or get some pussy off this or whatever, Skull just has like a full, too much of a reaction, hits fucking a smoothie out of Ernie's hand or Bulk's hand or somebody, because there's smoothies everywhere. I mean, this guy, he's fucked up all the fruit in Angel Grove at this place. And, as it always happens to Bulk and Skull, they have to play themselves at every moment. So while they're trying to figure out this plan, Bulk's going to have to clean up some strawberry smoothie off of the denim and the leather ensemble that he has, and quickly turn it into what you see behind you, which we'll get to here shortly. But everybody else in the squad, in the Ranger squad, is watching Trini too. And they're all giving her props. They're like, man, look at her. She's fucking killing this. But Trini, she's in her head. She knows she doesn't have this Mantis style down yet. She's got to, I guess, watch a cage for a couple hours, watch this bug, feed it some crickets. I don't know.
And through her crystal ball, Rita sees all of this shit. She sees everything. And she's just immediately pissed off that Trini is studying Kung Fu. She wants to study Kung Fu.
Yeah. So, how do you defeat a Kung Fu master in training, Steve? You find the one kind of version of the martial arts she can't do, which is Mantis style. And luckily for her, she can create a giant mantis that knows all of the martial arts, all of the ethics involved. And, I don't know what the technology is, but she creates the shitty Godzilla villain that you see behind Steve's head right now.
The patented leather mantis, like a lot of rubber and Missy Elliott merchandise were used to create this fucking thing. But
just one thing I have to shout out to Rita, though. The woman has what can only be called a Joe Montana level arm, because she can javelin toss a stick from the moon to a specific point on Earth to create
on Angel Grove.
Yeah, so
she hits. Man, she's perfect at darts.
Steelers are looking for a new quarterback right now. I would consult Rita Repulsa on the moon and see if maybe she can hop in for a couple of years to fill that gap between Ben Roethlisberger and whoever the successor is. Maybe she is the successor.
Yeah, virtual petty cap for Rita Repulsa. my toss isn't as good as yours, but man, she's very petty.
Steve, just one quick other side note. Would you fuck Rita Repulsa?
She has some of the meanest fuck faces. Yes. And yes.
That would be some of the most loudest, wildest sex of all time, too. It'd be very concerning, but also exciting.
Yeah,
I
a
look
lot of
forward to
Stephanie
that.
McMahon grimaces. And but back to Bulk and Skull. So they see that she's studying this patent leather Mantis style. So they come up with the idea of studying cockroach foo, or cock foo, as you say.
Cock foo,
And
dude. I mean, it's
yeah.
already, I'm in. Like cock foo. I want to fucking just. Is it like male striptease? You're just like batting your dick on somebody's face, or is it like actual martial arts, Steve?
Well, yeah, they only back their dicks on themselves, and yeah, it's all asinine. The studying of a praying mantis, you're gonna get your ass kicked, Trini. Don't listen to that man. You're better off getting lessons from Pedro Martinez. I think he knows that shit that you're talking about. The fucking that's what he did to the dude from New York Yankees, right?
Oh, that old motherfucker.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, and they, cock foo. It sounds catchy, Steve. It sounds like either a porno or some kind of crazy dick fighting style. But what it really is them just dressing up ridiculously as human cockroaches and doing what Bulk and Skull do best, which is playing themselves. They continually do that over this episode. So they get a cockroach in a jar. Because Ernie's juice bar is obviously one of the dirtiest businesses in Angel Grove, because it took him 5 minutes to get a jar full of cockroaches. And I can only assume that the health inspector's on his way to shut this place down.
And Rita's getting stalked by the patent leather mantis, who just materializes out of thin air. And apparently he has chainsaws for forearms. He's like...
Yeah, because Trini's fighting and she's just like sitting there, looking at a mantis. And then this mantis comes in, and of course Trini morphs. She turns into the Yellow Ranger and does about 10 to 15 minutes of posing before getting into the actual fight, because you got to do that as a Power Ranger. You got to flex a little bit. She does that. But then either the Rangers show up. Is that what happens? I forget.
Yeah, they show up because, I mean, hey, can't leave your homies hanging. And so the praying mantis sees this, and right before he leaves, he's just like, wow, that's not the spirit of Kung Fu.
I've been studying for centuries in that cage. Cut from that. So the mantis disappears. It leaves. It wants a fair fight, as all Kung Fu masters, I guess, do. And we go back to the juice bar. Ernie's cleaning up, which he should be, because there's mad roaches everywhere. And as he's got to be one of the most like vapid people on earth, because not only does he not see that these kids that are color coded match Power Rangers, and he doesn't know who the Power Rangers are, but he then while cleaning, he's like, oh wait, this fucking note that just teleported on my countertop here. I guess I'll just read it. I'm not going to question where it came from.
Just totally oblivious, like he always is. He's Ernie.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, if he's not eating like a hoagie, he's just watching a bunch of kids in his juice bar. Ernie, I got some questions for you, bud. We might have to call the cops on you at some point, but anywho.
The note that just appears magically, mysteriously, he's like, oh yeah, Trini, you got a note here. And so Trini, she thinks it's her sensei. It's like, oh yeah, we got a new practice session. So she goes out to looks like some Mesa land, and Sensei, I'm looking for Sensei, half hanging Fu Manchu. And out of thin air again, it's patent leather pussy mantis. He's like, you thought it was your master? It was me, bitch. I'm back.
Welcome to the Thunderdome of Angel Grove, which is the rock quarry you see behind you. Apparently, all the fighting gets done there, so they don't fuck the city up. One thing I thought was hilarious about this: right before the mantis shows up, or right when he shows up, Alpha 5, the nerdy robot that is with Zordon, does a scan of the mantis, and he's like, Zordon, he's a master of mantis style. Fucking duh, dude, it's a mantis, you dumb fucking robot. Like Zordon's like, I didn't need to know that, you stupid fuck.
or as I like to call them, R2W2.
Rangers. He just sounds like he's in the middle of busting all the time when he's talking. But somebody that's not busting is Trini, because now she's stuck in Thunderdome with this S&M Mantis. And it's just, not good, because she hasn't been watching that Mantis in a box too much, and she hasn't mastered the Mantis style yet, Steve.
It puts the lotion on its tentacles.
So now Bulk and Skull, we're back at Ernie's again. Bulk and Skull have transformed themselves into the Cock Fu Roach team. They got some some bicycle helmets with some antenna on it. They got some geese, so they got some money behind this, and they start doing their thing. But the other Rangers come in, and they're like, "Where's Trini at?" And Ernie, I think they see the note, and then they realize they need to go help Trini. So Morphin time, Steve, or not.
Well, when the Rangers come this time, they're met with the Putty Patrollers, and they are some of the weakest henchmen. I think they're weaker than the Foot Soldiers. And I always, why? Just why? I never got that. I hated the sound. And sometimes they did that. Sometimes they did the clink clank. There's nothing metallic about the Putty Patrol.
And also, didn't you at some point only have to hit them in the chest plate and then they would explode apart? Because I don't think that's a thing. Like, they lost that. Maybe Rita did like an upgrade, but at some point all you had to do was go bang and hit them right in that little like circular thing, and then they just exploded into putty. So I don't know.
They were freestyling with the Putty Patrollers in the first season, man. And
they even suck so bad that the Rangers, they don't have to morph. So they're just sitting here fighting. And even Billy, the little bitch ass nerd ass kid, he fucking can even fuck these things up. So I question why even Rita is making these things, other than, just a hobby, just to see what happens.
They're junior high schoolers, I think, from a beaten path. And they needed to, like, Rita Repulsa was like a pimp. She catches them on the street. It's like, you're not doing anything. You need to come work for me.
Shut up. Get out there.
And once again, when the Rangers show up, the Pussy Mantis is like, you have no honor. And she's like, well, you have no honor. It's like, I don't give a fuck about that shit.
Yeah. Well, what? Oh, yeah. I forgot about that shit. Well, whatever. Get them, buddy.
I don't play by the rules. Shit. I play for the other team. Yeah. But
I'm a Mantis.
Yeah.
Your dick ass arms. Looks like two dildos.
Jesus.
And also the hair metal that they play, like whoever the band was that was doing like just the shredding solos for the fight scenes, give them some props. I don't know who you guys are, but you guys,
Teddy Van Halen. They're just like different variations of Eruption. It's just like a lot.
I think at one point in the song they sing in this, and they say come back. Like they say some shit like that.
We didn't tell y'all to sing.
Maybe I was just too high at that point, but the Mantis, he doesn't know Mantis style apparently, because he doesn't know all the rules, and he says fuck the rules. Okay. The Rangers beat the putties up, and then they basically, Rita sees the writing on the wall, does her little fucking Joe Montana javelin toss, and creates giant Mantis. So time for the Rangers to fucking get those Zords out of the active volcano that's in Angel Grove. Apparently, there's a lot of, they come out of like, they come out of cracks in the earth. They come out of an active volcano and come to the Rangers. I wonder where all that's happening, because I feel like there's a lot of destruction there, or maybe even an active volcano in Angel Grove. Who knows? Yeah. I'm excited. But they create the Megazord to fight the Mantis, and now Trini has to use all that training and not only use Mantis style, but help all of her other cohorts to like use the Zord in Mantis style. At least that's what I had in my head.
It really wasn't a struggle.
No.
Out of all the little fights that they've had in the final round or whatever you call it, this is probably
the final round.
Yeah, this is probably bottom tier. Like, Bring Mantis was never really a threat, and Trini could have handled this motherfucker on her own, really.
Well, my whole thing is like, when you get to the point where you have a Zord, right? You got the whole like Voltron thing put together. They fight for a while, but inevitably, like this giant sword comes out of outer space and gets imbued with like lightning and laser power. So why not just do that immediately? Fuck all the bullshit. Fuck all of the sparks and the fighting that you have to do to get there. Just destroy the monster right then and there. But that would cut the show about 5 minutes short. So we can't do that.
Yeah, we have to make it seem like he's doing something. But they made quick work of this motherfucker. And going back to Angel Grove, there's a news report on Channel 5 or whatever they're watching, and they're congratulating the Power Rangers for once again saving Angel Grove from Rita Repulsa. And I was under the impression that like nobody really knew about the Power Rangers, like they were just kind of off doing their own thing. Like,
I didn't know everybody knew like the full, like the villains and shit. Like,
yeah, like
at what
how
point do you
Rita
get
Repulsa?
scared there's a woman on the moon that's just making random monsters fucking fight? Like, I would be freaked the fuck out at this point, Steve.
And she was doing this shit the whole time. I can't call up Buzz Aldrin and John Glenn. Like, hey man, go see what that's about. Like,
NASA, help us out here. Like, fuck these teenagers. But so that's on the news. The Rangers, nobody knows who they are, even though they're all wearing color-coded outfits and know all these martial arts and shit. Nobody can put that together.
wearing cross-color overalls and shit.
But Bulk and Skull have put together the full Kung Fu experience at the end of this. So they decide to put on a little demonstration because they're really not getting a lot of attention or excitement surrounding Kung Fu. They do a little bit, and then in the midst of it, Bulk's fat ass falls on the jar of roaches that they found outside of Ernie's and releases roaches inside of a food service business. So if nothing else, the Power Rangers killed the Mantis, and Bulk and Skull killed Ernie's hopes of having a working business because he's about to get shut down.
Just fucking up the church money for everybody.
Good evening. Coming up tonight on News Center 8 at 10, your chance to get involved with the O.J. Simpson case. We'll have a panel of experts tonight breaking down the week's courtroom action. And here's your number to call in, 578-0888, tonight at 10, only on News Center 8.
That following year, February 17, 95, Step by Step is airing the episode Ahead of the Class. As Carol's pregnancy progresses, the family helps with the chores, but don't come up to her standards. When Dana and Cody are made history tutors for struggling students, it's Cody's approach that works with them. Whoa.
Code man, dude.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, so Carol's knocked the fuck up. Mr. Lambert, they're not just satisfied having what can only be called an army of children in the house already. They had to make more kids. And she's got a bun in the oven, and everybody's trying to sort of help out. Frank's got a leaf blower in the house to do some cleanup, which, I mean, clearly this man's never lifted a finger in that regard. And Mark and Al are folding some laundry, but, Carol's not really happy with how they're doing things.
She's an anal housewife.
Those are the best kinds, Steve.
You're not folding the towels right. You're not folding the sweater right. I used to be in Three's company.
I mean, god damn. It's like, damn, we're all helping out. You got 30 kids in the house. Let them do some work, guys.
And a nephew who lives in a van down by his uncle's house.
And Dana comes in, so they're struggling with that. And shout out to Al, the youngest daughter, who later on becomes the hottest daughter. Steve may have something to say about that because of his love for Stacey Keenan. But shout out to Al. I forgot about how beautiful she became. But we go into the kitchen, and she's coming in, and usually she's intense. She's mean, scary, but she's coming in super happy, excited even. She's got a new position, an internship. I think she's still in school, but she's got a gig tutoring wayward kids, Steve. And she couldn't be more happy about it.
Yeah, they're remedial.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look at Seth Green behind you here. She's going to be in a class. We'll talk about who's in the class shortly, but one thing she's saying is, clearly she's got her head on her shoulders, and this position is only given to the cream of the crop of this class. And something that she apparently is unaware of is that Cody is also part of the class that she's in and has been given the other position of a tutor. So she's going to actually be working with Cody, who comes in like, hey, dude, like, what's up, dude? Matt, what's up? Let's fucking do this. Let's teach these fucking kids Dana Codeman style. So,
when did this happen?
How do you know? How do you not know that this guy's in your class? Blinders on, I guess. Like maybe they're in different ones, but Cody, Dana, they're going to be going to a local high school. They're going to be tutoring some fucking kids. And one other thing that I hated about this is Cody comes in with a cheese head. And they're
in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I get it. But where does he keep all these accessories? In the van?
Seriously. And cannonballs and yeah, we'll get to that too. But Carol comes into the kitchen and she's particular about her coffee cups, the soup cans, they're not alphabetized, and just being the ever so anal housewife. I think, was it JT even tells his dad, you're married to a psycho.
Yeah, he's like, Dad, what the fuck, man? And I mean, basically Carol's thing is, everybody, I appreciate it, but you ain't doing it like I do it. My way is the way. Fuck all this like fucked up shit you're doing. And everyone else is like, God, even her kids are like, this fucking bitch is fucking crazy, y'all. And I'm Frank, though, to his credit, and I mean, who would? I mean, she's got the thigh master. She's sexy as hell. He's like, you know what, guys? She's pregnant. It's just hormones.
Yeah, but he's also concerned for the safety of her child. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, all of this stress, you're putting our child at risk. And Brendan, little soft ass milquetoast Brendan, he hears this and it resonates with him. Now we go to the classroom and Dana is getting prepared and Cody comes in about 10-15 minutes late, and he tells her that he set the class up to be on It's Academic, which is apparently the top rated quiz show, despite looking very low budget. And they're going to be on the show in 2 weeks. These slow ass remedial kids are expected to compete in something academic. And she's like, why would you do that? They're retards. And he's like, well, it's supposed to be the story of the haves and the have-nots, David versus Goliath, whatever. It's like, okay, bro.
What do you think? And also, Cody, how do you have like ins, or do you have all these contacts to just be able to willy-nilly get a class on channel 56's hottest new game show, It's Academic? Or what's the deal there? Apparently Cody's just connected. He lives in a van. He's probably dealing a lot of meth or dope out of that van. Maybe that's where all this is coming from. And so Dana, already a little bit miffed that she's working with this guy living in a van outside of her house, is also miffed at this. And then the kids come in. And this is where we get to see some 90s celebrities, Steve, because Seth Green's in the mix. He's a little twatty little kid. This has
been here forever.
This is like the guy he played in Can't Hardly Wait before he got into hip hop and, wearing goggles and shit.
Before Chris Griffin and Robot Chicken.
And then we also have a familiar face from the previous segment, the Black Ranger himself.
Walter Jones,
the man himself. He's not dancing in this. He's learning or trying to. And they're part of this class. And this class, Steve, it's clear right from the get-go that they suck at school because they're throwing footballs around. Dana's trying to teach. Cody sees this and is like, hey, this ain't working, Dana. Class dismissed. He just dismisses the class. And he's like, we're all going to my house tomorrow and we're all going to learn the Codeman way, which I don't know if it's legal just to invite a bunch of kids to your house or your van. But that's the Codeman way. So they're going to have a little lesson in a van down by the river, tomorrow, Steve.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go to their teacher's house.
Nobody
for a
wants
fucking
to.
lesson.
What if you? Okay,
I
Steve,
didn't-
put yourself in these kids' shoes. You got to go tomorrow to this guy's house, right? But then you get there and you find out this guy lives in a van. I'm leaving immediately. I'm like, this guy's trying to molest us, guys. I've seen this on movies and shit.
And he's got mannequins wearing these twatty ass Civil War reenactment outfits, man. You know, like, which should be illegal. No offense meant, but when a young black student is getting Civil War lessons from a white man, you should. I feel like I feel like all like black kids should get a disclaimer, like that. Look, this could be very harmful to your psyche. So take this shit with a grain of salt, please.
Hey, Code Man, we're not talking about slavery at all. What's the deal? Wasn't there something about that? Hey, dude, like, wait, dude, this is all about economics, bruh.
Here's a cannonball.
Yeah. So Cody has, to his credit, again, he must have connections everywhere because he has set up at least like the shittiest version of a museum's panorama of the Civil War. We got a mannequin in the North outfit. We got a mannequin in the South outfit. We got a fucking cannon. We got a couple others, maybe like a fire with like a little kettle or some shit. I don't know. A tent. And Cody comes out. He does his little trumpet thing, gives this lesson. And at the end of the lesson, this motherfucker fires this cannon in a neighborhood. And if it's not bad enough to just fire a cannon, which I'm sure a bunch of windows would be broken, if nothing else, there was a fucking cannonball in the cannon, Steve. Did he commit a homicide here or what happened?
Did you hit Brett Favre's house?
Yeah.
Please tell me you hit Brett Favre's house. But Seth Green, he's amused. He said, this is better than history class. But you know what's better than that? Seth Green's character is taking my ass home and watching Goof Troop.
Yeah, not being at a teacher's van down by the river learning on a Saturday outside in what I think is snow. So it's cold as shit too. But, you know, I guess these fucking dumbass kids, they can't they can't read. So why not let some surfer bro in a van teach you about the Civil War, you know?
They just mull over the fact that slavery was a thing. They're talking about all this shit that happened during the Civil War and all of that. And it's like, there was this one thing that kind of happened that's pretty fucked up. It was like for 400 years or some shit. But no, economics and all that. Let's talk about the presidents and all these other pieces of shit.
Yeah, I don't know how many black voices they had on that writing crew of Step by Step, Steve. We might be surprised, but I don't think there was a lot of people like, hey, should we bring this up? They were like, let's go. We can't, it's too complicated. We can't handle that, right? Or we can't do this after Urkel. We can't talk about slavery after Urkel. So
yeah.
Wow.
And it's really wild. Why did y'all even touch on this topic? You know,
they could have picked anything, Steve. They could have learned anything in history. It doesn't have to be about the Civil War, but they had to. They figured, you know what? We got these old suits in the warehouse for ABC. Let's pull them out. This is the lesson, whatever. So Cody commits negligent homicide. He fires a cannon into a neighborhood, probably through a couple of houses or into some kid's fucking, you know, jungle gym. But that's the Code Man way, Steve. So we cut from that. Apparently these kids are learning something from all this. But now it's nighttime in the Lambert household, and Carol wakes up, and apparently this is a thing. She always wakes up. She hears something in the house. She wakes Frank up this time, and Frank's like, bitch, shut up. Like, come on. And Carol, I mean, I guess rightfully so, or maybe not rightfully so, is like, be a man. Like, you're the man. You're my husband. You got to protect me. And he's like, fine. Okay, I'll do that. But the next time you got to go look at this shit. So they go downstairs, and unfortunately, the conversation that they had previously in the morning about, you know, Carol hurting the baby with stress reached, like you said, twatty little, is his name Brendan, you said?
Milk toast Brendan.
Forgettable milk toast, white bread, you know, skim milk ass Brendan heard all that, got in his head, and he's in the kitchen at like 1 a.m. organizing the cans and alphabetizing the cans and putting everything away just the way Carol wants so that the baby doesn't die. basically.
Yeah, he was concerned. He couldn't sleep because the towels weren't folded right and the cans were facing the wrong way. Milk toast Brendan. And Carol sees all this shit and she's like, all right, I'm a spaz. I fucked up. I'm doing the most. I need to sit my ass down somewhere. And Frank, he's like, all right, I'm about to go back to sleep.
Yeah, I got to go to bed and work tomorrow. So bye, guys. But they do share a moment, Steve, because Carol feels the baby kick. What I think she says for the first time.
When they hug, yeah.
Yeah, and then Brendan feels it, and they share a moment. The baby's healthy. Carol's going to de-stress. She's going to like give over the keys to the kingdom to everybody so they could help her out a little bit. And we think Carol's on the right track. You know, she's gonna take it down a couple notches.
Brendan gets to smell Suzanne Summers' tits for a second, and we go to it's academic, and it's Hillside Country Day versus Kennedy High School, and immediately Hillside is kicking their ass.
They're starting off slow, Steve. I mean, there's no way to. It's like in a football game. One team starts off fast as fuck, Hillside or Country Day School. The Whitington School of Whiteville. I mean, they even have like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air like blazers and shit. Whereas our school just they got the fresh gear on, but it's not a uniform.
Yeah. It's street clothes.
Exactly. Seth Green looks like he's going to church camp. So they're doing it, but they're losing. But they eventually start picking it up. Why? Because fucking Walter Jones pulls all, like he's the MVP. Yeah. He's the only one that learned anything, I think.
He turns the tide, and it's like, you're the Black Ranger. They ask a black question. They ask him a first African-American troop from a freed state to be called into federal service. And he said the 54th Massachusetts Volunteers, which is actually not correct. But because it's TGIF and there was no Wikipedia, it's just like, all right, but it's actually the 1st Kansas Colored Infantry Regiment. But he's the Black Ranger. He got the black question right, and they started getting some more right after that. You're the Black Ranger, but
and we get through whatever. I don't know how long this fucking TV show is. I think that there's 2 main rounds, so they get through those, and they're down 40 points, which that's a lot. But apparently on this show, bonus round coming up, they could win it all just by answering one question, so they're still in it. And Dana can't believe it. I mean, she can't believe that Cody, this fucking moron that lives in a van, actually taught these other retards, anything, let alone getting them to the point where they can beat this team. So she's like gushing with these people, all the kids. She's like, we're going to win, guys. You guys can do this. And then she gives like this Vince Lombardi-esque speech just to like get these kids in a tizzy to win. But Seth Green has to fucking just like, I don't know if we're going to win. I don't know, Miss Dana. And she's like, shut up, you little bitch. You're going to fucking win this thing. You're going to fucking suck it up and win. So shut the fuck up. Walter, you're the MVP. So hopefully they're going to win. But I think even Cody's like, whoa, dude, like this chick's fucking crazy, bro.
And the question is, what the CSS Virginia, what was its original name? And they're guesstimating what it was, trying to break it down, and it's apparently the Merrimack.
But they don't see Seth Green just is there to hit a button. Apparently he has good reflexes, so he hits the button, and the guy's like, okay, what's the answer? And he's like, I don't know, which you'd think would be just you're disqualified, but no, they get a little time. They do say it. And I think the Black Ranger, he says it. He's answering all the questions. So the girl in the middle, get your shit together a little bit. Study a little harder.
She's just there to be cute.
And so, but they win, Steve. It's academic that these kids fucking won. So Cody was right. These kids actually do have some intelligence. They haven't just been huff and glue in school for a decade. So they win. And Cody and Dana, apparently they might be the teaching duo of the decade, maybe of the century. Who knows? They're a good team.
And that following year, or was that 95?
Yeah. Yes, it was 95, Steve.
Actually, on that same day, the Brady Bunch movie premiered in theaters. The original 70s TV family is now placed in the 90s, where they're even more square and out of place than ever. And I remember seeing this in the theater when it came out.
I wasn't excited about it. I never liked Brady Bunch. Like it was always on reruns when we were kids. But this movie, I thought was it was a great way to bring it to like our generation. And I thought the shit was funny, you know?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, I don't even know that I saw the second one, but I just remember the mom was hot, Marcia, who is
Christine Taylor, Ben Stiller's wife, that I didn't know, and she was also Melody from Hey Dude.
fine. She's so fine. But yeah, shout out to the Brady Bunch movie. I mean, I think it's like sort of a forgotten gem or something people probably overlook because they're like, fuck the Brady Bunch, fuck that bullshit.
And also premiering in theaters that day was Heavyweights. Plump kids are lured into joining a posh fat camp with the promise of a quick weight loss and good times, only to find that the facility is a woodland hellhole run by a psycho ex-fitness instructor. And so speaking of the devil, that fitness instructor happens to be Ben Stiller himself.
And one of his most funniest, I mean, I know this is a kid's movie and I know it has a place in my heart for nostalgia's sake, but his character in this is fucking funny as shit. He kills this. And the cast of this movie, a bunch of 90s hitters. We got Goldberg from Mighty Ducks. He's in it. Keenan's in it. A couple other fatties were in it. And as a former fat kid myself, who was fat as fuck when this movie came out, this was my Citizen Kane, Steve. This was everything to me for a couple of years because it's funny. It gives you a little inspiration as a fat kid because the fat kid gets the girl at the end. And it's sort of a pro-fat movie almost, even though it's about a kid who's going to fat camp against his will. So I love this movie. I don't think a lot of people know that this is a Disney movie. It is on Disney Plus if you have that. And I'm telling you, if for no other reason, watch it for Adam Sandler and a weird Swedish guy who works for Adam Sandler, who at one point the kids take over the camp, like Camp Nowhere. Imprison all of these psychotic anti-fat camp employees that are under Ben Stiller's watch. And there's a guy that's Swedish that they tie to a tree, rub honey on his exposed chest, and just leave him in the middle of a forest for bears to eat. It's very bizarre and
so it's very Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, very much so. But I love this movie. So shout out to Heavyweights, dude.
And on that same day, Tiger manager Sparky Anderson takes unpaid leave due to baseball strike. The strike that happened in 1994, it led to a lot of the star players not being available. So the managers were relegated to managing minor league players. And Sparky wasn't with that shit. He had to manage the minor league team basically during spring training. And because of his attitude about it, the Tigers were just like, all right, man, we'll find somebody who'll do it.
Did he ever work after this? Because the dude was old, but I feel like he was still like working after this happened.
Well, he took unpaid leave and then he would eventually just quit. I think they either let him go or they parted ways later that year in October. But you know, Sparky Anderson, he's a legend. He was the first manager to win a World Series for both leagues. He won with the Reds in the 70s, and then he won one with the Tigers in the 80s.
And plus one of the most fun names, Sparky Anderson. Almost sounds like, I don't even know, but it's just it's a fun name. So shout out Sparky. I'm sure rest in peace, Sparky.
Definitely.
Yeah. But I loved when I was growing up in Toledo, dude, me and my dad used to go up to Tiger Stadium. It was a cheap ticket. And it was fun. So seeing that hat, seeing that uniform, brings back a lot of fond memories. I didn't like baseball that much, but going to see a live game, even in Detroit, was fucking fun as shit.
Even in Detroit. In February 17, 1996, Power Rangers are airing their series finale, Hog Day Afternoon Part 2. Aisha faces a difficult decision in her Zeo quest while the Alien Rangers battle Hydro Hog. By this time, I had already checked out. I don't know what a Zeo quest is.
I mean, this all sounds too stupid for me to, at this point of the this
The outfits
series.
are stupid.
Yeah, we were out. We were way too old. There became a point where we were the first ones to really. We were right in the pocket, Steve. We were who the show was meant for when it started. But by this time, there was an embarrassment. If you still watched it, you would be made fun of in school, be told you're a little pussy or a little kid. And I had stopped watching it, and for good reason, because what I see behind you looks to be maybe a live action show about the shitty action figures you can buy in a 99-cent store.
At
Like
Aldi or
Power,
something.
Power Force or what, Action Force or whatever they call that shit. It's just like, it just looks generic. And I mean, you're calling this the finale and it's still going on. So I think that's sort of a false nomer, if you will.
Somebody who probably didn't see the series finale of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was Tom Arnold and Tupac. They probably never seen any episode of Power Rangers because they were both on SNL.
And they were
and
gacked out of their mind that night. Tom and Tupac
a lot of
hung
drugs.
out. Yeah, dude.
A lot of drugs were had.
What a weird combo. I mean, the combos never have to make sense for SNL host and musical guest, but I mean, what a diametric opposed duo to have on a show. Other than maybe drug habits. Maybe they both had some fucking stellar coke habits, and I'm sure that they put those nostrils to the test that night.
Well, in the closing, Tom Arnold did say, "Hey, Tupac, we got to hang out." Maybe they did.
Can't walk on one leg, Tupac.
Jeez. But also in 1996, America's Dream premiered on HBO. 3 tales of African-American characters: a farmer with an unfaithful wife, the boy who painted Christ black, school principal who defends a controversial work by a student, and a jazz singer who recalls her troubled youth.
Never heard of this show, Steve. I didn't have HBO for the longest time.
It was a movie.
Oh, it was like a full. So these are like little snippets of they have like sketches in a movie, separate stories, I guess.
Yeah, like Tales from the Hood. It starred Danny Glover, Wesley Snipes, Lorraine Toussaint from Where's Carmen Sandiego, Jasmine Guy, and the kid from Cop and a Half, Norman D. Golden.
It's the Cop and a Half reference I love, and I wish that this was every segment of this was introduced just like Tales from the Hood, where Homeboy was like, yes, the shit. We need to just cover that movie and just like let everybody know how good of a movie that is.
Also in 96, Project Alf premiered on ABC. It was a 95-minute TV movie that was supposed to be considered the finale of all of the Alf things. And Martin Sheen was in it, although he wasn't in the original show. And William O'Leary, he was Tim Taylor's brother in Home Improvement. The movie was poorly received when it aired in 96 because of the absence of the Tanner family and weak characters and a failure to give a proper ending.
I just question who was demanding that this was even made. It just seems unnecessary. Like Alf
crackheads.
You're good.
That's who. Crackheads. That's who suggested that shit.
Hey, yeah, the same guys that were in a coke frenzy that came up with Alf originally in the 80s. Just like the coke bag ran out, and this was like their last gasp before they had to stop, and go to rehab and maybe quit Hollywood. But we didn't talk about it because that episode's lost, but I was just it never grabbed me, Steve. Alf never did anything for me. It didn't move the needle. I'm a Jim Henson guy. I love Muppets. I grew up loving that shit. I'm not against puppetry and puppets and all that shit, but Alf, go back to Gorback or wherever the fuck you're from. Eat some cats.
Oh, we like to eat cat.
I mean, hey, there you go. We do have one thing in common, Alf. So,
yeah. 1998, Grace Under Fire aired their season finale or series finale, Down in the Boondocks, and I think I watched probably 2 episodes of this show.
Steve, this is Brett Butler, and I just got to tell you, you're a fucking piece of shit. Because that's basically why the show ended, Steve, or got canceled or whatever, because Brett Butler was a nightmare. to deal with. Apparently, this woman thought she was fucking Diana Ross of sitcoms. She got a fucking too big of an ego. And there's like story I've heard where, you know, this was filmed in front of a live studio audience. They got crew everywhere. Brett Butler in a tizzy called cut on a scene, walked up to a writer, is like, if you fuck the way you write, you need to be fucking fired, bud. And that was just sort of her demeanor, I guess, across the whole shooting of this show. So for good reason, this was cut, and I never watched it. I actually hated this show. So, you know, that's my take on it.
But it did have Tom Poston. Shout out to Tom Poston, the fella in the cardigan on the end. He's originally from Columbus, Ohio, and he is a veteran character and comedic actor. He's no longer with us. He passed away some years ago. But on that same day, Silk the Shocker releases his album, Charge It to the Game. It's 20 tracks, 77 minutes and 39 seconds. 77 minutes of Silk the Shocker. That sounds like torture. But if you were going to get a Silk the Shocker album, this would be the one, because the releases were Just Be Straight With Me and It Ain't My Fault. Did I do that? They should have had Urkel in that video.
I mean, that's a missed opportunity of the century right there. Yeah, I Silk the Shocker. I'm a No Limit soldier, Steve. I'm there. I'm in the army. I'm in the gold tank. But as far as the albums go, I was not a Silk the Shocker fan. I mean, he's on the lowest tier of any of the No Limit soldiers. So I didn't have this album, but I guarantee you one thing. I bet it had some dope album art. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. It was just No Limit.
I love that aesthetic, dude. Whoever came up with that, whoever the actual graphic designer was, in my head, I wish it was Master P. I know it's not, but whoever that guy is, that dude has legit artistic style, because this is one of a kind. It got ripped off, but this motherfucker changed the game. So I love that. I love all those.
And on that same day in 98, Destiny Child released their self-titled debut, and it has the releases No, 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 and With Me and Illusion.
I mean, this was our introduction to three of the hottest ladies of all time, Steven. For me, hot take, Kelly Rowland. She's my number one. Hi, Kelly.
Might be the GOAT.
I mean, that Nelly song, I'm not a fan of the
remember
song, but the video, she was looking so hot in that.
Well, any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways?
My callback honorable mention is just about Black Sheep, guys. I mentioned it very briefly in the beginning, but I watched this shit.
No, you mentioned it in the Lost episode.
Well, but I mentioned it very briefly in our new in the intro on this one. But the shit's just it's Tommy Boy 2 for anybody that's never seen it. It's got David Spade, it's got Chris Farley, and it's the same formula. You put these guys together, you have David Spade insult Chris Farley. They have some mission. In this, it's to get Chris Farley's brother elected governor of, I think, Washington State. But it's hilarious. It's free of charge, and it's a golden gem of the 90s. So please check it out. What about you, Steve?
In 1990, Golden Girls is airing the episode 72 Hours. Rose is afraid that a blood transfusion she had several years ago may have contained HIV-infected blood, and Rose be tripping.
I mean, Rose, if you can get in your head about something, Rose will do that. But, you know, it happens. I guess people got HIV off of blood transfusions. I would love to watch this because I can only imagine how crazy it is.
In 1992, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is airing the episode Eyes on the Prize, and that's the one where Will is on the game show, another quiz show, and he has to choose for his teammates between Tyreek and Jazz, and he ends up picking Carlton, and that's another classic episode, man. In 94, The Simpsons are airing Lisa versus Malibu Stacy, and Malibu Stacy's voiced by Kathleen Turner, but this is like I said, man, the best era of The Simpsons. This was a week after the Bart Gets Famous episode.
God damn. But this, as far as Lisa centric episodes, this has to be top 5. This is it's probably my favorite. It's a great episode.
Well, please make sure to check out Over the Culture, Crushgasm, B3F Podcast, Don't Worry, Be Movies, and Pop Culture Hootenanny. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Tell us where your mama lives. This is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s. Get out my face, bitch.